Hello manga bookshelf readers, I'm Melinda Beasi, and this is my week in manga. Here in western Massachusetts this weekend, we are recovering from the snowstorm they call Nemo. We lucked out pretty well here at my house. We have electricity, we are warm, we are safe, and if we're experiencing a little cabin fever, that's not the worst thing in the world. I do apologize in advance if the beeps and roars of snowplows and snowblowers interrupt this recording. They've been going on all morning, and I eventually just decided to go with it. So let's talk about what I've been reading this week. Probably my most exciting read this week was Volume 1 of Knights of Sidonia. This is a new sci-fi series from the creator of Blame, put out by Vertical. Michelle and I read this together for Off the Shelf this week, and we both absolutely loved it. You can read more about our thoughts there, but I will take this opportunity just to say, Knights of Sidonia, definitely worth checking out. Also in Off the Shelf this week, and actually leading off the column, was BTOOOM. This is a new series from Yen Press. It's due out in a week or so, I think. I talked about it at the beginning of the column, and though it's not a deep or complex read by any means of the imagination at this point anyway, I definitely enjoyed myself, so you can read a little bit more about that in this week's column as well. Also from Yen Press this week, I read Volume 5 of The Betrayal Knows My Name. This is the 5th omnibus edition of the series. It's nice and thick, as you can see. You may remember that I ran a book club marathon of this over the holidays. In the end, it turned out to be pretty much just me and one other reader discussing the first 4 omnibus volumes of this series. But we had a great time, so you can check that out for a little bit of background on the series. I was really looking forward to Volume 5, so let's talk about that a little bit. The Betrayal Knows My Name is a shoujo fantasy series. It's got a lot of elements you would expect to find in exactly such a series, particularly pretty men in very intimate relationships that border on BL, but never really quite get there, which, you know, that's a whole other discussion in itself. But that is the foundation of The Betrayal Knows My Name. It's about a teenage boy named Yuki, who's an orphan, and he discovers suddenly that he's got this family that he's never heard of, and they're not exactly a normal family. They're actually a group of people with supernatural powers called the Zweilt, and they are here to protect the universe from Duras, which are essentially demons. He discovers that he is one of these and is brought into this group of people, and essentially he's really thrilled to have a family. The thing about Yuki is all of these characters are reincarnated over and over to fight these same wars over and over, and they, to some extent, all retain the memories of their previous lives, except for Yuki. He not only has forgotten everything about his past lives, but he also is a different gender in this life. Like, clearly something happened in the last life that made him want to start with a clean slate. So there's a lot of sexual tension or sexual romantic tension between Yuki and his main protector, Luca, who is a Duras who has come over to fight with the Zweilt to protect humans. So that's a whole storyline. They were lovers in their previous lives, but of course Yuki doesn't remember any of it. So that's how it gets to be a BL story without really being a BL story. Is that Yuki was a woman when he was involved with Luca in the past. So anyway, 4 volumes of this, big omnibus volume, so there's been a huge amount of the series already. I enjoyed it a lot, even though, I mean, it's very cliche on a lot of levels. There are so many times that it is reminiscent, particularly of Clamp's X, There are some of the supernatural elements are incredibly similar, and certainly some of the relationships are, and even the setup where they tend to fight in pairs, and they create a sort of safe zone to fight in so that humans don't get hurt, and there are a lot of things that are very reminiscent of X. But this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, these things work, and they work for a reason. One of the things that I found the most difficult to deal with the Betrayal Knows My Name is, you know, they have these characters. It's definitely a character-driven story, relationship-driven story. And just when you're getting to know the characters that are there, the author all of a sudden introduces a whole new slew of them. So one of my major frustrations with the first 4 omnibus volumes was that there were just too many characters, and they kept getting introduced over and over, and I like all the new characters, but there's a point where it's just too much, and I want to hear a story, I want to read a story about the characters that I already know, and get to know them better and really delve into their relationships and their lives. The 5th omnibus at first seems like it's really going to be that, and it is for the most part. Most of this volume deals with the various pairs of characters that we've seen so far. We get to know them better. It's very effective in a lot of ways. There are several relationships that are explored much more deeply, and it's really emotionally powerful in that way. And then you get to the end, the very last chapter, and you're like, oh no, new characters again. Mordsfiled. It's always Mordsfiled. Which is great, but a whole new pair to learn about when really I'm not done finding out what I want about the pairs that we have. So that's still a little bit frustrating in this series for me. Overall, I have enjoyed it a lot. I would absolutely recommend to fans of the genre, fans of supernatural shoujo with very serious BL overtones, but that are probably not going to actually become BL. If that's something that you really like, this series absolutely, you know, hits all of those points, and it does it well. I really enjoy it, and again, I'm anxious for the next volume. It's not an incredibly deep read. It's not something that I can recommend unreservedly to anybody, but it's definitely a very it's a very specific read for very specific fans, and if you're a fan of that, which I am, I think you'll like it a lot. So, Betrayal Knows My Name, still recommended. Please, please let this pair be the last of the new characters we're going to get for a while. Also on my docket for this week, Michelle and I have our latest installment of BL Book Rack coming up. So I'm going to be preparing for that, and I'll be doing that by reading a couple of series from SuBLime, volumes 2 and 3 of a couple of series. First, Awkward Silence by Hinako Takanaga. She's obviously a very well-known BL author. I really didn't enjoy the first volume of this series very much. I found it to be pretty empty and really not my kind of thing. It didn't really do much for me, but I'm going to give it another shot. Volumes 2 and 3, I will be checking out both of them. So keep your eyes open for BL Book Rack next weekend to see what I thought. In contrast, also from SuBLime, I have the second 2 volumes of His Favorite by Suzuki Tanaka. I actually really loved volume 1 of His Favorite, which I picked up from SuBLime's holiday 99-cent sale. I think it was 99-cent. Really cheap BL sale is what they were having. I picked up volume 1 from that sale, and now I have volumes 2 and 3, and I'm really looking forward to reading these. So keep your eyes out for the book rack for that as well. Thanks for joining me for another week in manga. I hope you're all safe and warm out there, and please stay that way. See you next week.